What's going on, everybody? My name is Winston, aka Infinicat, aka an Odd Alpaca, aka I've gone by many names over the years. Don't worry about it. Names are just noises that we acknowledge if you really think about it. But anyway, I'm here today to talk about some Call of Duty, because it's been a while since I talked about Call of Duty, because I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't been playing Call of Duty. Ever since, the infamous Modern Warfare 2019, well, you know, that game was fairly polarizing for a lot of people, myself included. It is a return to form in a lot of ways, and in other ways it wasn't great. Namely, some of the changes they made, like changing the minimap and the weird map design philosophy they were going with. It just felt like they were going for general FPS instead of Call of Duty to me. But that's not what I'm here to complain about or talk about necessarily. I'm here to talk about Call of Duty Vanguard and a mode that they recently released called Exposed. Exposed is a game mode. It's pretty fast-paced, and what happens is in this game mode, enemies are outlined in red. The radar also sweeps constantly as if a UAV is active. The main idea here is that no one can hide. I think that that's fun, but first of all, I want to just say that this is the first mode I've played in Call of Duty in a long time that felt like Call of Duty to me. Because back in the day, the game felt this good, this chaotic, this hilarious, and this energetic without constant exposure on the radar and stuff. That's just how it was. And at some point they changed it in Modern Warfare and more recent games like Cold War to remove pings off the minimap and added the compass and tried to turn that into a whole thing. The problem I have with that is that it slowed the gameplay down to a crawl. And as someone that's played the franchise since 2009, I've seen the game evolve and change, and I played pretty much every Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2 in some form or another, except Black Ops 4, because fuck that game. But in any case, I've played a lot of Call of Duty over the years, and things have changed, and there are things that I do and don't like in each game. I'm a person with opinions and preferences. This is just my opinion, my preference. I lean more towards the more active games. I wouldn't say Jetpack era necessarily. Black Ops 3 was okay. Didn't care for Advanced Warfare very much. Infinite Warfare was meh. But ultimately, games like Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2 and even World War 2 and to some degree Cold War and Vanguard has been pretty hit or miss. But they all have the thing in common, which is this kind of more rapid style gameplay. And it's not so fast-paced that it's breakneck or nosebleed. There's a balance there. Something that happens when everyone's exposed on the map, for example. You and an opponent can be looking at your radar, and you know that you're both on the other side of this wall. It might be like a little, like an L-shaped corner or something. And you and the opponent both know that they're there because the radar is constantly sweeping. You're both constantly watching this happen, right? And at some point, one of you will have to make the move, right? And at that point, it becomes less of a game of you got caught slipping and more of a game of who's actually the better player. And I feel like that's where Modern Warfare 2019 rubbed me the wrong way, is because it felt to me like you were just giving campers and people that like to hide and stealth players way too much give. And people that want to move and play the objective and not necessarily run around like a chicken with their head cut off, but more, just make a tactical push when the objective is clear or when we need to push into an area and secure it so that the objective is secure, whatever it may be. That stuff kind of wasn't really happening a lot, right? Because there are too many dark corners. Someone could just constantly be hiding there with a claymore or shoot you in a corner that in 99% of maps in COD history weren't there. That's another point of contention, is map design, right? I feel like this game mode highlights that map design really isn't the biggest deal. It's more about how the gameplay flows on a map. Because Vanguard's maps are honestly a lot more complex than most of the old 3-lane ones that we're used to from like Treyarch titles. Maybe not quite as complicated as some Modern Warfare maps can be, certainly. But in my opinion, Vanguard has had some of the best map design we've seen since the golden age of COD. Many of these maps are wild sightlines and very complex amounts of lanes within. For example, I can't remember the name of the map, but it's in this video. It's the little like jungly maze-like one. That to me felt very much like a World at War map, and that map is kind of a 3-lane, but there's a bunch of lanes in between lanes, if that makes sense. There's like a bunch of corners and buildings and cover and areas, diagonals and zigzags. And I like these kind of more cluttered, messy maps, but still have kind of like through lanes that are left, right, center. I feel like that's the kind of happy medium that the best maps in the franchise are known for. I mean, think about a map like Terminal. Terminal is 100% a 3-lane map. There's just a lot of areas within it that are only 2-lane or choke point 1-lane. But it's still very much a square box 3-lane map if you really think about it. And even other maps, I mean, like Nuketown's a classic, that's obviously a 3-lane. And then Raid is a 3-lane, Crash is a 3-lane. But these maps are great not because they're 3-lane, they're great because they turn 3-lane into a conflict zone. And what I mean by that is there are multiple pieces of cover strewn about the map that are strategically placed so that you can make those tactical pushes. And I think that the fast-pacedness of this exposed mode lends itself well to these map designs because this is exactly what I want. More complicated than basic 3-lane funnels. Some Black Ops 2 maps and some Black Ops 3 maps, and most of World War II's maps. Those games had a lot of really choke pointy funnel type maps that were really boring. There wasn't a whole lot of extra movement, and I think that's what a lot of people want is maps that are a little more complex, a little more complicated, but I don't think that we need it so complicated that you can't find anyone, that you can't see anybody, that you can't move 2 feet without being overwhelmed with how many areas you can get shot from. And I think that these more complex maps with more gameplay like this with the different, radar sweep and people exposed on the map and outlined all the time, this shows that the fast-paced gameplay on these more complex maps is like, to me, that's Call of Duty at its peak. To me, that is how Call of Duty should be. And like, my personal favorite game, Modern Warfare 3, had a lot of those kinds of maps and a lot of that gameplay. You kind of see the battle line move across the map all the time because we're constantly pushing and flanking and maneuvering across the map and trying to outgun the other team, because we're always constantly aware of where each other are. I will say the things that I don't like about this game mode, though, are I think it would be better if you took away the red outline. I don't need enemies to be that obvious. I think that's a bit much, because it kind of just feels like you're shooting dummy targets a lot of the time. So I think if you remove the outline, and then, I don't know, I like the lack of kill streaks. I think Call of Duty needs kill streaks. I think that's kind of one of its selling points. They need to be strong and powerful, but not overwhelming. I feel like Modern Warfare 2's kill streaks are a good midpoint. They're powerful, they're strong, but they're not constantly there and they're not constantly being annoying. They should be rewarding because you have to earn them, but they shouldn't be so powerful that everyone just rage quits because a chopper gunner is just too powerful or whatever, right? Not saying that this particular version of the chopper gunner is too powerful, but what I'm saying is, like, you need to balance getting mowed down by these things with maybe they're easier to shoot down. I think that Modern Warfare 2019 did a really good job of that, and I feel like Cold War and Vanguard kind of were pretty lackluster in the kill streaks department. This particular game mode, there are no kill streaks. So I personally prefer that. That's my style of game. I like maybe no kill streaks, but vehicles, kind of like Ground War from Modern Warfare 2019. I think that's more of a fun twist on the idea. But I understand that kill streaks are a part of Call of Duty. They should be a part of Call of Duty, but I think that we need at least one playlist like this for players like myself that maybe don't care for the kill streaks. I find them disruptive, personally. And for people who want a little bit more of this, fast-paced style of gameplay where you're never truly safe. And I think that makes it way more fun. We can find each other, we can compete. Because, to me, the game is about competition. It's about not overwhelming your opponent and shitting on people necessarily, not necessarily pub stomping. I want everyone to be fighting for the goal, you know? The goal is to win the game, right? Everyone should be playing the objective. Everyone should be going for the kill total or whatever in team deathmatch, whatever it may be. I don't want to see people sitting around, hiding in corners, being able to be too safe for too long, you know? A good competitive shooter should push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I think that this mode does a really good job of doing that. So anyway, that's my take on Exposed in Vanguard. I literally have not played hardly any Vanguard. I've got like 16 hours played across the entire year this game has been out. And it's not so much that I think the game is bad. I think the game is fine. It's just Call of Duty's just made a lot of missteps, and I've lost a lot of faith in the franchise. Hopefully this Microsoft acquisition turns out to be a good thing for the franchise and they pull their heads out of their ass, but we'll see what happens. But all I'm saying is if Modern Warfare 2 this year doesn't offer gameplay like this Exposed playlist, I mean, that might be the nail in the coffin for the franchise for me personally. I don't want to play boring camper simulator. I don't want to play traditional FPS. If I wanted to play, what's that shit called? Fucking Rainbow Six or Counter-Strike or Insurgency Sandstorm or whatever, I would go play those because those are traditional FPS and that's what that is designed for. The reason I like Call of Duty is because it's not those. Is because it's arcadey and fast-paced and crazy, you know? That's why it stood out. That's why it went so viral, because the gameplay was different enough, and then they stacked something that FPS had never seen before, which was level progression and strategy with like the perks and stuff like that, all layered over the top, and then you also had prestige mode and progression like that. So if you bring all that kind of stuff back, you win fans like me back, who have been here for time immemorial, and who make up a good solid chunk of your fan base that carried you through the rough times like the Infinite Warfare phase. We were the ones that were there carrying you through that. And I feel like when you abandon us and betray us with a game like Modern Warfare 2019, you just, I don't know. It just felt like a misstep, and it shook my faith in the franchise a lot. And I don't want to be like Negative Nancy. I'm not here to like criticize. I'm just saying like this right here, this Exposed gameplay, this is what I enjoy. To me, this is peak Call of Duty. And I'm not saying that the whole game has to be like this. Just give us players like this kind of stuff our own playlist, just like you did right here. This might be a limited time game mode. I'd love to see this be a permanent game mode that's an alternative to Team Deathmatch and stuff like that. You put us into a playlist and we leave you alone, and we just have our own area we can go to play. There's plenty of us. There's enough of us that would be a tight community, just like the Search and Destroy community or whatever, right? There's no reason that can't exist. There's no reason we can't coexist. I still like traditional Call of Duty. That's a little bit more maybe slower paced or tactical. It's fine. I like that too. But I don't enjoy not having this kind of gameplay alongside it. So find the balance, find the happy medium, bring us back to whole again. Because I feel like in their blind attempt to not split up the community, they actually created a deeper divide by pushing a game like Modern Warfare 2019 and shoving that down people's throats, and by pushing something like the jetpacks down people's throats. Just bring it back to classic COD. Bring it back to the golden era when it was the happy balance of all of these different things, and there were multiple playstyles that were valid, and guns were actually unique and interesting, and maps were dynamic and fun. And speaking of dynamic maps, one last little thing that I want to add here at the end. Vanguard's maps, man. I'm telling you, this game's maps might be low-key some of the most goated maps in the franchise. I've had more fun on these maps than I have on a lot of maps in at least the last 8 years. Seriously. I mean, I think that whatever they've done with the maps in this game, keep doing that. I think that there might be a few too many destructible walls in places that don't really make sense, but I like the destructible wall thing. I think that's fun. It creates new lanes, new sight lines, and I think that's another way to alleviate the problem of 3-lane. Because you can turn a 3-lane into a 6-lane real fast like that. And I think the destructible doors, I think we should just get rid of the doors. The doors were a cute little gimmick, but they're in the way. No one really uses them for any reason, and if you're going to make them destructible, then what's the point of even having them, you know? I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't care about the doors, if they're there or not, it doesn't matter to me, but I prefer the game without them, or if they're not destructible and they're permanent objects. That's my take on doors. But I think more destructible elements could be fun. I don't know if I want to go see full Battlefield style destruction, because I just don't know that that's necessarily correct for Call of Duty, you know what I mean? Call of Duty has a specific blend of gameplay that it tries to cater to, and I don't know that fully destructible environments lend itself that well to it necessarily. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it, but I think the way they're currently doing it, and if they iterate and expand upon the current idea that they have, I think it could be pretty cool. So yeah, that's my take on Call of Duty in its current state, and this playlist is awesome, man. I hope that it stays permanently as an addition to all future Call of Duties. I think that if nothing else, it's at least something that switches up the gameplay and flips it on its head a little bit, because there's just something really fun about you're never truly safe, you know? I don't know, I've got a smile on my face just thinking about this, man, and I haven't felt that good about a Call of Duty thing in a long fucking time, so I hope genuinely that at the minimum this playlist sticks around in all Call of Duties for the foreseeable future. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Hit like if you liked the video. Hit dislike if you disliked the video. Subscribe if you want to. And I hope you have